Good evening, at least for me. How are you? All good? Good. Now, I'm making this video as a reaction not to the events, but the way events were portrayed in some parts of Europe and of the United States. Today I'm going to talk about the United States. Now, as you know, Ukraine has successfully made an operation inside Russia, in the heartland of Russia. It has destroyed a number of military planes inside Russia. No, if you want the details, just watch the news. They tell you what type of planes, were destroyed, how they do it. Mm, Mainly, they created a legitimate company inside Russia, and then they use that company to apparently transport the drones across Russia. It was mayhem. It was complete destruction. And the first thing I'm going to address is this. Some people think, oh, this is nothing. Russia can come back. They can do this. They can do that. Okay. Those planes were there, most of them, since the Soviet era. Sorry. They are a part of the nuclear deterrent of Russia. They are a part of the defense of Russia. They are extremely expensive to any country, and especially now to Russia. The technology with which they were made, it's very hard to replicate. It's very hard to today have the staff to build another one. So much so they were even having difficulties in maintaining the ships, the planes, sorry, ships, the plane. Okay, because they relied heavily on Western supplies, mainly in this case from Europe. Now, this is the first thing I'm going to talk about the importance of this operation. It has more than one layer of importance. You have the strategic importance because they take down uh, military crafts that the Russians need, not only for continuing their aggression in Ukraine, but also to defend their heartlands, to defend themselves from other countries. Because you see, Russia's position is not that stable. There are a lot of regional actors that might look at a weak Russia and take advantage of it. And I'm not just talking about China. No, China will probably use other means to obtain either terrain or influence. Okay, because for China, war is bad for business, and business is what China is good at. This is also another thing that the Americans don't really understand about China, but that is a subject for another video. Now, this was the first aspect, the strategic one. Then it's the psychological one. Z patriots were going mad. A lot of them and a lot of Russian citizens were shocked. They could not conceive this would happen. And this is not the first time they are shocked. When Ukraine invaded and occupied a large section of the Kursk region, hmm, they were also in shock. What they are finding out now, the Russians, is that Ukraine can hit them anywhere. They are killing Russian generals. They are spreading chaos and mayhem, and they should do this because they need to get Russia to get the hell out of Ukraine. It's as simple as this, you know. In order to have a lasting peace agreement and a lasting uh, guarantee to Ukraine in its independence, Ukraine needs to put gain a footing in the ground. You understand what I'm trying to say? An advantage. And Russia needs to understand this. They need to understand, like that predator that sometimes pursues and tries to kill and eat a prey until the predator discovers that it will probably lose more than it gains by continuing the hunt. This is what Russia needs to realize. People are trying to deal with Putin with appeasement. That doesn't work. Did you have any bullies? Did appeasement work with your bullies? No. I can tell by experience. I know I dealt with them too. At first I tried to ignore. Secondly, I tried to calm things down, and none of it worked. They just continued to escalate the situation. And then I got some advice from my grandfather, and I ended the bullying. Not so many friends after that, but who gives a crap? I don't need friends like that. Okay? If you are someone like me that has dealt with a bully, and that has more than one in my case, but that's besides the subject. But you know, appeasement does not work with these people. Like Chamberlain coming from Nazi Germany with his little people waving in his hand, oh, it's peace, it's peace, it's peace. In the same year, Germany was invading Poland. It doesn't work. And people need to realize this. You need to realize when is it worth to make peace, and sometimes it's worth to make peace. You know, sometimes you just have to stop uh, uh, considering and thinking about past offenses and simply have peace, even if it's a peace that is merely an interval between conflicts. But sometimes it's better. All right. Now, as I was saying, this has more than one consequence. It's psychological, it's economic, it's strategic, and it also sends a clear sign to the rest of the world. And over here in Europe, people, they were not surprised. You know, they were surprised with the magnitude of the operation. Attention, okay? They were surprised about how much the Ukrainians were able to achieve. But they were not surprised they were able to do it because we know who is in Ukraine, who are the Ukrainians. We know who is that's. We know what they have been doing because our leaders actually are trying to help Ukraine, and our leaders are not there to sell weapons for a mineral business. Your former president, Joe Biden, with all his defects, but he knew. He knew exactly with whom he was talking. So did Kamala Harris. Even the older presidents knew who they were talking about. Obama knew. Clinton knew also. These are people that knew and that could advise a new American president to do the right thing. But the issue here is that you don't have a president. He's not the president of all Americans. He doesn't act like one. He's the elected president. I think there is no doubts about it. I don't know. I'm not an American. But he doesn't act as that, as an American president. He acts more like a car salesman or something like that, or your crazy uncle that drank a little too much Kool-Aid with some. Okay, I'll stop now. But and then I heard the reactions in America, and I was not surprised, to be honest. I was disgusted because the first saying that I saw in the media of the right wing media, I think, and YouTubers and whatever it was, Zelensky did not warn Trump that he was going to do this. Do you remember what happened in the White House? Would you warn him? He look completely pragmatic and practical. Put yourself in his shoes. The entire right wing media in the US is reproducing, saying the same narrative that is coming out of the Kremlin. You want to know why? Because we know it. Because we have been finding it here in Western Europe and we have been kicking them out. Because we have strong misinformation and fake news laws and because we are on Ukraine's side. We know what Russia is. This Russia. I'm not talking, and listen, I'm not talking about Russian citizens. Russian citizens are Europeans like any other. I know I hear them talking, oh, we are this and we are that. No, you are Europeans just like us. Okay, it's the same shit. You know, all Europeans has some ethnic differences, but when it comes down to it, to the end, we are all the same. And I'm not saying this because I'm crossbreed, okay? Because I'm Portuguese, I'm German, I'm French, whatever. Because I have been here a long time ago. My last German relative was my grandfather's mother that was born outside of Portugal. She was the last one. All the others have been being born here, okay? But what I'm trying to tell you is that uh, when you are dealing with Russian, you deal like you are dealing with another European. But then they have their own culture, and they have this culture of corruption, okay, and a bit of inferiority complex with Western Europe, because Western Europe, in some occasions, did not treat the Russians with fairness. No, no, we didn't. Okay, there are some countries that never really treated Eastern Europeans as something very different. For example, the Portuguese, we always, but we of course we were also mistreated by some other Europeans. Okay, it's a vicious cycle. But I have said this in another video where I talk a bit about the history. Uh, that Portugal has been buying grain from the Black Sea region, from what is today Ukraine, Crimea, all that there. We have been buying grain from that area for centuries, since medieval times, since before that, even I think. Okay, so there are these interconnections, but basically are the same. But you have to understand that even if Americans say, oh, for example, when they have one Irish grandpa or whatever, oh, I'm Irish. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. You don't have the culture. You are not us. You don't act like us. You don't. You don't have our culture ties. You don't have our history. For example, a Portuguese and a Spanish, we hate each other. Honestly, I'm not saying we're hostile, but we hate each other. You know, like you, like you hate that fat cousin that eats your pancakes. Understand? But if a French guy starts to bully Portuguese or Spanish, we will gang up on the French. Okay? A German doesn't can stand a French, but he will gang up with some other, with an Italian, whatever. You know, do you understand what I'm trying to tell? I'm trying to say is this: American media does not have a bloody idea of what is happening in Europe and how our mentality works and how we work. They don't understand nothing. They are ignorant. They are in their own narrative. Sorry, narrative. They are unable to understand what is happening here, and they think they have some kind of knowledge about what is really going on, and they don't. For example, do you know that Germany made an ultimatum to Russia before they started to allow the Ukrainians to use the weapons they supplied them, the long range weapons, to hit targets inside Russia? You don't. You don't know there are a lot of volunteers, European volunteers, fighting with the Ukrainian soldiers inside the war zone. A Portuguese kid just died a few days ago. Bloody hero. Go look him up. Do a search on YouTube so you go and you see his history. You know, he was fighting there, man. I'm bloody proud of him. Really. Wherever he is, I hope that he is in Valhalla with Odin, because he deserves it. He deserves that the Valkyrie came and collect his soul. If you believe in that, and if you don't, I don't care. Okay, it's culture for me. But you know, and you have no idea what is going on here. You have no idea how it is for us to be behind that border and wanting to put boots in the ground. And you don't know how close we are to that. The only reason there are no boots in the train right now is because we still haven't got a sufficient nuclear deterrent. But we are getting close to it. Okay? But to have the audacity of saying things like I saw them all, could they do this without telling President Trump? My friends, President Trump is acting like a supporter of Mr. Putin. Why would you tell him anything? For what? For the operation to be botched? Because he remembered to make a post in his Truth Social or something like that? No, of course we are not going to say anything. Europe is not going to say anything to Mr. Putin. Mr. Putin, sorry, especially to that prick. But Europe is not going to say anything to Mr. Trump, to the USA. Of course not. We are not going to share intelligence with you. Are you crazy? If sharing intelligence with you means that in the next day Mr. Putin knows it, or that you are sharing it through an open media source, how could you consider us to share any bloody media with you? Any bloody intelligence with you? Put yourself in our place. Would you? If you knew, you imagine this, you were in our situation, okay, and the president, I don't know, of Germany starts blabbering about state secrets on an open platform, okay, or the president of the European Commission. Do you understand this? But American media is stuck on that narrative and they are unable to get out of it. Even the bloody CNN channel that we also have here, one here in Portugal, they're bloody idiots. I'm sorry to say it. Nice people, seem to be nice people, they follow the rules, but I cannot stand their way of reporting. I don't find it objective. I don't find it correct. But let me just put one, say one thing so that you are clear. Okay, they are not committing any crime that I know of. Okay, they are doing their job properly. They have all the proper license. They report the news, but I don't agree with their interpretation because it follows that same way of thinking that I see in American media. That way, let me put it this in another way, okay? A true reporter may have an opinion, of course, but the true reporter will report the news, will say what happened. He won't this say something like this happened because of this and this and that. He won't fit the news to the narrative. The objective is to say the fact this happened and this happened. And then you can say, my opinion is this. That is something different. But you cannot say, and this happened because of this and that. No. In that case, you are following a narrative. And the most serious thing about American media is that since you don't have the brakes, pardon me, that we have here in Europe, strict laws against fake news, against misinformation, against all of this, they are free to speak the narrative of whom is paying them. So they are no longer reporters. They are lobbyists. They are working for a lobby. And this reaction that most American media had right now to this news by saying this simple things like they did not warn the American president just tells me one thing. I would not trust any news coming out of your country. And more than that, why would Ukraine tell anything to Mr. Trump? Why? Again, they are spewing the Russian narrative. They are justifying the war. They are justifying kidnapping children, raping people, killing people, murdering people. Okay? And if you were raised Catholic, for example, like I was, I have spoken about this, I was raised Catholic in pagan Germany. If you were raised that way, you know what does it mean to enable a sin. You are a sinner too. If you associate yourself with the sin, you are a sinner. You are committing the crime. So, each and every person that is talking about this, spewing that narrative, of the Kremlin, you are an accomplice to this crime. You are an accomplice to every man, woman, and child that has been affected in Ukraine. Ukraine gave up its nukes as a guarantee that its borders would be safe. Ukraine did not say it would not enter NATO. It did not say it would not enter the EU. Nothing like that. They didn't say that. And to say, oh, that Putin was scared, to have more NATO forces at his border. Why would those forces be a threat to him unless we knew what he was already doing? If Poland was not in NATO, he would invade it. If the Baltic states were not in NATO, he would invade it. Even Finland had to enter into NATO. Why? And right now, today, where where is the border between NATO and Russia? How many how many more kilometers? I don't know what the fuck a mile is. Kilometers of border does Russia has with NATO? He was going to march around Ukraine, put a puppet in Kiev, and then he would continue his advances in the rest of Europe. This is what he was going to do. This is what he still wants to do. Even after almost a million Russian soldiers have died in Ukraine, it's still what he wants to do. Tomorrow, it will still be what he wants to do. Even though no, right now I think he's looking for an escape from this shit. He's trying to have a way of having peace, to have as much as he can out of this peace, okay, so that he can retire to his castle and continue to plot. Okay, he wants to win this shit. He wants Americans to be weak and dumb and lift the sanctions because he knows that even if the rest of Europe, for example, even if Europe will not follow the United States, even if Canada will not follow the United States, even if a lot of countries will not follow the United States, sufficient countries will follow to undermine the position of Europe, position of Ukraine. Ukraine did not ask for this. And to hear someone say, like I said, that uh, oh, he did not want President Trump. Why would he? He has the mandate of the Ukrainian people. They elected him. He's doing his job as a president. He is doing his job, unlike yours. X billion in tariff money. 20 billions, I think. You want to know where that money came from? From your taxes, Americans. 20 billion of your taxes. Do you think, I don't know, Volkswagen lost a cent with a car? Do you think that? Oh, and remember, they are probably going to get out of your market. Instead of gaining jobs, this is a subject for another video. But instead of gaining a job or gaining jobs, you are going to lose them. You are already losing them. Subaru, I think, already left, right? They're not the first and they are not the last. And after is over, I continue to say this and I will continue again, because this monster that I've been talking about is still alive and well in the US, the monster that created Mr. Trump, that created all of these people, all of these Republicans and the Democrats, because the Democrats also have a lot of sins. They are not the same, like I have heard some people say, but they do have a lot of sins. And by the time this is over, the markets won't come back that quickly. You may get some normalcy, among relations, but the trust that took you 60 years to develop. So if I was that shocked reporter, I would be prepared to be even more shocked, because Europe, Ukraine, and the rest of the world will do whatever they want to do. And no, they won't want the US. No, they will not think about the US. No, they will not care if the US is affected, because the US doesn't care about them.